Hello, and a very warm welcome back to my dear listeners. This is your host Sharmishta, back with the first episode of a brand new story, The Strange Murders, featuring none other than our ace detective, Kiriti Rai. The dagger was made of pure steel. The front of it was tapered, very sharp, and the dagger's handle beautifully carved out of sandalwood. A soft waft of a sandalwood aroma prevailed in the room. Detective Kiriti Rai and CID Inspector Majibur Rahman were seated facing each other. On the marble table between them lay the dagger on an oil paper. What happened then, Inspector? I heard it all from the servant, Kiriti Babu. He had come into the room as usual every morning like he does and saw Norin Mullik's body lying on the floor. This dagger pierced deep into his heart. Norin Mullik was still in his sleeping suit. I see. Well, Inspector, whoever murdered Norin Mullik, the person seems to possess a lot of physical strength. Anyways, you mentioned that Mr. Mullik was still in his night clothes. Did anyone examine his bed? Yes, we did. Mr. Mullik did not sleep on his bed last night. And apparently, he has a habit of consuming a glass of water every night before going to bed. Even that glass was untouched. So, the post-mortem report of death due to dagger being pierced holds true, Mr. Roy. Kiriti leaned forward and picked up the dagger from the table. He turned it around, looking at it closely. The handle was very ornate and the dagger was indeed heavy. You know, Mr. Rai, the strangest thing is that no fingerprints were found, neither on the dagger nor anywhere in that room, neither any sign of struggle. Kiriti smiled. Isn't that obvious, Inspector? Whoever murdered Norin Mullik did not want to take any chance. In meticulously planned murders, the murderer would make sure there is no evidence. Planned murder? You mean Mr. Rai this? Yes, of course, Inspector. Norin Mullik was not murdered just like that. It wasn't a case of theft, neither a break-in. No signs of struggle, no fingerprints, as you said. It was well planned and perfectly executed. Uh, Tell me something, Inspector. That room where his body was found, at his residence, does the police still have possession of it? Yes, of course, Mr. Rai. Investigations are still on and the coroner's court still hasn't given its verdict. Good. Then let's go and see that room right away. If you don't mind, that is. Oh, definitely not, Mr. Rai. The police would be more than happy to have you investigate. On the way to Norin Mullik's Park Circus residence, the inspector noticed that Kiriti was lost in thought. Mr. Roy? Mr. Roy? You seem to be far away. No, I was just thinking, Inspector. Mr. Norin Mullik, a very successful businessman, living in Burma for years. Suddenly, he winds up everything there and a year ago comes to Calcutta. Why? And within a year of being here, he is brutally murdered. Why? Why? What do you mean, Mr. Rai? I mean, if you could get me the details about Norin Mullik's personal life. You see, in cases like this, it is often seen that there is a personal angle. Well, in that case, you should have a word with Norin Mullik's old friend, Advocate Shomir Rai. He told us that a year ago, Norin Mullik had contacted him first after coming to Calcutta. In fact, he stayed with Shomir Babu for a week or so before shifting to the Park Circus house. Then, Inspector, let's go and meet this advocate first. Mr. Shomi Roy was a well-known advocate in Calcutta and was very familiar with Kiriti. What an honor, Mr. Kiriti Rai. How can I help you? Your deceased friend, Mr. Norin Mullik, we would like to know more about him from you, Shomit Babu. Yes, really very sad. I don't know why he would have been murdered by someone. A year ago, yes, he had suddenly come to my place one morning. No telegram, no letter, just so suddenly. He told me he had wound up his business in Burma and wanted to settle down here. You know, I have worked hard all these years. I want to completely relax now. It was something like that. He wanted to buy a house and a car. A friend of mine was selling off his house in Park Circus, so I took Norin to him. Norin had immediately liked the property and paid 60,000 rupees as advance. He then bought himself a car too, hired servants, a cook, a driver, a caretaker, and of course his old servant who had accompanied him from Burma. He also stayed with him. Life was one big party for Norin. He was a good-looking man, very gregarious, and in no time became the toast of Calcutta's elite social circle. And then this, really, Mr. Roy, even I would like to know who hated him so much to... The ace detective, Kiriti Rai, must use his wits once again. There is more than meets the eye in this baffling case. No fingerprints, no signs of struggle. Let's find out what happens next when I return soon with the next episode. Till then.